Hello, welcome. Thank you for joining me. My name is Karen, and this is the reference photo that I chose to sketch today. I'm doing this in ink and watercolor, and I'm Florida themed, so I was trying to find a surf shop. And this one came up, and I thought it was really nice and bright and colorful. I'm showing you this now because I just wanted to show you I've decided to leave a few things out. There's a bench behind that fence and a kayak and a plant on top of a little table, and then the clothing wear that's hanging. So I kind of cleaned it up, minimalized it a little bit, and so I hope you enjoy it, and I'll narrate as we go. I'm starting out with a piece of Strathmore watercolor paper, and I've got my Lamy Safari pen that has waterproof ink in it because I'm going to be putting watercolor over this, so I don't want it to smudge. And I'll use a little bit of markers as well on top of the ink. So I'm going to start, I started with the windows. I usually like to start in the center. I'm starting with the windows. I love that little triangle window on the top. That's a nice little feature for that building. And I like this subject because it was really nice and bright. It had that really nice bright surfboard in front. But like I said, I just left a few things out just to kind of minimalize it. And with that fence there, sometimes it's hard to put things behind a fence. And that's the beauty of using your judgment. You can simplify things for yourself. So I put that surfboard in there because that's like right in the front. I didn't go all the way down on the windows or the surfboard because I'm going to be putting that fence in next. And this was a pretty quick sketch today. Just a little over 30 minutes, and I sped it up. So you're at, minus the images I put in there in the beginning and the end, you're at about maybe 15 minutes for you to watch. So I'm going to put that fence in now, and that way then I will know where everything goes behind that. But the beginning of the video, I had some wave sounds, and I was lucky enough to get to go to the beach this weekend. So that was, I taped that, and that was Siesta Key Beach I went to. So those are waves and birds and children playing in the beach, or in the sand on the beach at Siesta Key, Florida. And this little surf shop is in it's on Fort George Island, and that's on the and kind of near Jacksonville on the East Coast. And Jim Rogers opened up this surf shop, and it was originally a post office, and I guess it says comma a World War I Army barrack. So I'm not quite sure. It doesn't say and, it says comma World War I Army barrack. So I'm not quite sure. I don't know the full history of it. But this is one of the few beaches that you can actually drive your car onto and unpack and sit on the beach with your car right there. Can't do that a lot in a lot of beaches. So Fort George Island. So I'm just trying to, figure out what's behind that railing, because there was a bench behind it, but I left it out just to make it a little bit neater. And the two plants that are in front of the railing, those will cover up. I'm just going to make them a little bit bigger. And just doing half the umbrella. On an angle. Except that pole was more on an angle, but I just made it a little straighter. So it's been a rainy day here in Florida all day long. So it was a good day to get my sketch on. It's that time of year. Luckily we are been lucky so far, but we're heading into storm season. So hopefully, fingers crossed, we don't have any big hurricanes this year. Just don't need that after Ian. So I'm just putting in the rest of that. There's some clothing wear, and I left that out. So just kind of figuring out where that building ends. And then I've got the little palm tree, and I love the Lamy Safari pen for my palm trees. I also like to use a dip pen, but that gets caught in the paper fibers. So the Lamy seems to just flow a little bit nicer for those quick, loose strokes. Now I'm using a alcohol-based Artist Loft marker, and this is a N2, a neutral gray 2. And the nice thing about putting this down is when I put the yellow on top of that, I'll already have my shading, because that yellow will just be translucent and the marker will show underneath. So instead of mixing up a darker yellow, it's easily done just like that. And this is a cadmium yellow light. I want something nice and bright. Such a beautiful color. We've got all our primaries. Yellow, blue, and red. And then I've got a vermilion hue. It's a nice, bright, reddish orange. Perfect for that surfboard. Beautiful color. I didn't add a lot of water. I wanted that really rich. And then I've got a Payne's Gray. Again, not a lot of water. Wanted that pretty dark. I'll use that for the windows too, but I will dilute it with some water so it's not quite as dark. Oh, and this is a number 6 flat watercolor brush. It's a nice brush for getting in those straight edges. And then I've got a ultramarine blue with a little a lot of water to lighten that up, and then I added a little Payne's gray to that blue for the underneath of that umbrella. And I've got a Phthalo light green mixed with a little bit of the Cad yellow light. It's a beautiful shade of green. Look at all those colors just popping. Just beautiful. And then I'm going in with a brown. I've got a, what is that? This is just a burnt umber, watered down a little bit, for the fence, or the post, or the railing, excuse me, and the palm tree trunk. Adding a little Payne's gray to that for the underneath shadowing. And now I've got my N89 Tombow, which is not waterproof, but we're done doing watercolor. So I'm going to use this for the underneath part of the roof, and then those slats, the siding of the building. Just a nice light color to give us a hint of that siding. Now I've got, which is a really nice, a Uniball white pen, and I can get in some of those white details with this pen. Sometimes it gets stuck on the watercolor, it doesn't roll, and you got to kind of use a paper towel or another scratch piece of paper, but overall it's fine. This is a loose sketch, so these things aren't, these aren't supposed to be perfect. And we're just putting a hint of lettering here and there. But that worked out nice, that Uniball. And then I'm going back to that vermilion hue for the open sign. And then that open sign is outlined with a little bit of a, I think I used a cobalt blue. Yes, cobalt blue for that one. And then the address with the artist loft. My 0.1 ran out, so I'm using 0.3 and 0.5s today to outline things. So now that my 0.1 ran out, I can go get some more supplies. Yay! Michael's, I don't know if you guys are familiar with Michael's. It's like a Hobby Lobby, and there's Michael's. That's what I have around here. And Michael's hasn't seen me for a while, so they sent me a coupon. I haven't even shopped there in a little bit, so I think they missed me. So I got a $5 off coupon. They love me there. So I just put a little hint of something in that window. You could see behind there was a little bit of orange something, probably clothing. And then put some shadowing in. And the palm tree little rings on the trunk with the Artist Loft 0.3. I'm going to darken these windows just a little bit. So I pretty much used the N, or excuse me, not the N, the 6 flat round or flat brush, pretty much the whole Whole painting, I used that brush. Except for just for the lettering, the open sign, that I did a finer tip. So I'm putting in a few splatters. Oh, the darker green was a sap green. And then I'm putting in some vermilion hue splatters and some ultramarine splatters. So this is my final sketch. Fort George Surf Shop in Jacksonville, Florida. And I think it turned out really cute. It was a fun one to do. Kept it simple. And I think it worked out well. I think the splatters on the right are a little iffy. Maybe too much. So I want to thank you so much for your time. I appreciate you. And subscribe if you haven't. And if you have, thank you so much. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out. I'd be happy to help. And if you have any tips for me, I'm always open to tips. Feel free to help me out. So have a wonderful day. I hope you find time to sketch. Bye-bye.